So, last we saw Zednius, he was dead. A pretty crazy thing to happen to someone. But at the moment, that didn't seem to have stuck. So we're gonna pick up basically right from where Zednius died. Let me adjust some stuff real quick on the UI side, and then we'll just dive right into it. All right. So, Zednius, you walk forward onto the deck of the house. You've battled your way past air elementals, and that horrific creature you summoned via the magic of Hetagal is on the deck behind you. Then, the wizard within the house, the man you've come here in search of, raises his finger. You watch as a bolt of energy extends from it. Some animal part of your brain screams at you, and you move to dodge. However, you're not fast enough. The bolt hits your arm, and you go numb. You watch with shock and horror, but lacking in pain as your arm simply fades away into dust. A moment later, darkness consumes you. Your eyes next open. In a strange place. The ground beneath you is Vanta black. Nothing reflects, and the sky above looks like a roiling thunderstorm with streaks of golden light. You taste nothing, smell nothing, feel nothing. When you look down at your form, you are translucent and can barely see yourself. In the sky above, there's a roiling thunderstorm, and there's streaks of golden lightning and light sort of peeking through to that thunderstorm. You can also start to get your bearings, because in the similar way that you are so translucent that you can essentially see through yourselves, so is the terrain around you. Underneath you, the deck of the house is semi-translucent, and rather than being able to actually see your companions, in flesh and blood, instead you see these ribbons of light moving through the air. You can see a dark green sort of jagged line in the air with a tether connecting it to it, sort of winding its way out the door of the building and to some distant point. You can see the fight continuing, though. Again, you can really only make out when spells are cast. You can see them in sort of full vision, and then these like jagged lines sitting at the heart of some members of your party. So there are, let me double check. I think there's only one in your party. There are two in your party. One is a sort of jagged golden line, and then there is a jagged sort of dark green line. The dark green line curls outside the entrance of the house over the roof in its southeastward direction. The sort of golden one is a much smaller cord, and it sort of folds away from that jagged line of light up into the sky, and you see it connect to one of the sort of open, glowing golden openings in the roiling storm above. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly move. You notice that you don't really interact with the material world. Like, the only thing that really seems solid is that sort of Vanta black beneath you. So, oh, interesting. One moment. Peach says she can't hear. I don't think it's on my end. Oh, she can't hear you. Yeah, that would make me sound a bit schizophrenic. Why would that not work? It works every other time. Yeah, that's true. Your face does glow, so clearly. Huh? There we go. Spooky. No, it's still not working. Why? I don't understand. I can hear you. You're in my ears. Why would this not be working? And you're right, the thing on Discord is glowing, so that clearly... What a wacky world. I have one idea, which is to just completely...
Testing, testing. Oh no. Hello, hello.
Oh no, I hope I didn't hurt. Okay.
Oh, she doesn't hear you.
What? How? That's impossible. Okay, wait, no. That's not possible. I see the microphone going... Okay, dude, he's just freaking me out. The worst Examore, oh my god. Okay. Hi, Yogi and High Peach. So, you are in this place. Yes, you can move pretty easily. You can look down. I think it'll take you a couple seconds to grapple with what's happening, but you can look down, and where you previously were, out on sort of the deck of the building, you can see, just like the building itself, this very translucent pile of ash.
I go down towards it because I don't know. I remember everything, right? I haven't forgotten stuff, so I think that. Okay, I try to like scoop up the ash.
Yeah, your hands go forward, and they just sort of pass through this translucent mist, and you're able to see the battle wrapping up behind you. Not in the favor of your companions. You can see this like jagged line of green being dragged out of the building. You know, you can see the sort of translucent figures of your comrades. And then you also see this sort of like purplish parasite is the best way to describe it, affixed on that mage who killed you. And he is continuing to sling spells at your comrades while your comrades flee. It's not looking good for them.
Does the tether or do these like ethereal things seem like something I could interact with? Like if I fly over, or I go over to the purple thing on the...
Yeah, you can walk over. You're sort of still, since you don't interact with translucent objects, you're standing on this flat, like slate black ground, and you're reaching up through the basically floor of the building to touch it. But yeah, you can walk over, you can reach out towards it, and you can grasp it. It certainly does feel solid. It feels slimy, which you realize now, you are not breathing, you can't smell, your heart isn't beating. In fact, you have almost no senses except for sight. So when you feel something slimy touch your hand when you can't even feel the wind blowing, it's a strange circumstance. But yeah, you can
I'll
touch
probably yank my hand back.
Yeah.
If I try to summon do I feel any magical power within me still?
Yeah, so the first thing you notice is that connection that you always have to Hetagal. Even when he was on other planes, you sort of knew that he was still alive. It was like a sixth sense of sort. That's gone. That connection, that deep primal instinct is non-existent. You have no idea where he is, you have no connection to him, no ability to communicate. And in that same way, your entire field of magic, which comes from that deep, deep, deep connection, is also gone.
Does his purple slimy thing tether anywhere?
A very thin line extends out the back of the parasite. Almost so small that it would be easy to miss. And rather than going upwards or southeast, it plunges into that Vanta black earth beneath you.
Do I have a tether?
Not anymore. As you sort of stand there thinking, you hear a noise. It sounds like a distant rumble, like the lightning storm above you has struck at some distant point, and the thunder is rolling across this strange place. But some part of you fills with dread, Despite your body being totally numb, you almost feel a chill run down your spine. You don't vocalize it, but you know it. The hounds of oblivion are coming. Even as a young boy in Nauseous, you heard of them. The inevitable fate that greets all those who die outside the glorious light of Aurelian soul. You spin in circles, attempting to locate the origin of the noise. But then, before they arrive, a jagged scar appears in space before you. A great pseudopod slings forth and wraps around you, pulling you forward. And the next thing you feel... Yeah. The next thing you feel is burning. A hand on your arm. You smell incense, a mumbled chant, and you feel cold. But you do feel. You try to open your eyes, but unexpectedly bright light forces them shut, and you hear Tullius's voice. It's okay, boy. You're all right. He strokes your forehead with one hand.
Tullius?
The cleric says you should keep your eyes closed. You're still adjusting.
Where are we?
Mausoleum in Tarocco.
All the way in... How long has it been?
About a week and a half.
It only felt like minutes.
Yeah. You hear him like talking to someone. His voice like projecting away from you, talking to someone else in the room. You can leave us for a couple minutes. When he's ready to, get up, I'll let you know. You hear the sound of like footsteps receding away. And as your senses, your physical sensations come back, all of them feel pushed to the limit. Your skin is chapped and raw. Your lungs burn with every breath. Your eyes are squinting so hard that it feels like you'll never be able to open them again. Your breath smells of death, and your muscles are so sore you can't imagine what could have possibly happened to you. You also realize that you're naked and cold, and you'll feel a sort of blanket be pressed against your stomach and placed into your very weak hands.
Yeah, I'll wrap the blanket closer if I can move easily.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it hurts to move.
It hurts a bit, but it's mostly just this deep, soul level of soreness. And Tullius will pat you on the chest and say, "We're at a place where one of the ecclesiarchs owes me a favor. You were brought back with true resurrection. It leaves scars on the body. You'll recover, though. You'll just need a couple of weeks."
Touch my face. Where are they?
Not quite that physical.
Oh.
I've died twice before. When you first come back, it's going to feel strange. You may even begin to wonder if this is real, if perhaps this is all some vision just prior to your real death. But I assure you it's not. And he squeezes your hand. You may contemplate if death was really so bad. May even think about returning to it. But again, these feelings will also pass. Your body won't respond how you want it to. Everything will feel new again. On my second revival, I even began to wonder if I was even in my original body. Experienced temporary mania, is what the clerics called it. Regardless of what happens over the next few weeks, I'll be here.
Did you see what I saw when you died?
What'd you see?
There were tethers.
Yes.
Tethers from people, things. I don't know.
You saw the realm of souls. The place prior to the veil of death. I assume you remember nothing beyond it?
Just I heard the hounds coming.
Well, then you're like every other person who dies. That's all I remember as well. I even heard one of them howling as it got close. But
yes.
No one remembers after that.
Well, I remember getting pulled through a scar in the world. Similar to those teleportations, I think.
For me, it was a angel of glowing radiant light. You can sort of squeeze your eyes open now. There's only a very, like, you didn't realize how just dim this thing truly was. There's just a little torch burning in the far, far corner of this crypt chamber, and yet that alone felt like the sun looking upon it. But now, that very dim light sort of reflects across the room, and you're able to squeeze your eyes open, and you see Tullius's face. He looks the same as ever, that old sort of the face that looks almost like it's carved from marble, and this very like harsh jawline, though at the moment, you can see he has a more soft expression than usual. And we are going to roll a d6 and talk a little bit about the mechanics of resurrection sickness. In your case, it doesn't matter too much because Tullius will provide you with ample time to recover, but if it ever happens to anyone else in the future, it'll be quite relevant. So I am going to DM you one of the potential traumas of death that you could gain. Since, it's your character, you do have veto power on this table, but if you're all right with it, you can take it. You're going to gain something, but the specifics of it are up to you. How does that sound for the personality
Sounds
trait?
good.
Okay, all right. And then in terms of mechanically, resurrection sickness provides you a -4 to all rolls, which only recovers by 1 during each long rest. So after about a month, resurrection sickness will have totally worn off. The mental effects will get better as well, as Tullius said. But yeah, some people have a lot harder time moving on, especially if they get really nasty madnesses, but yours is not the worst thing in the world.
No.
So as you sort of squint your eyes open, Tullius will, sort of support your low back a little bit so you can sit up and say, "You're also not going to feel hungry or thirsty, but you're going to need to eat and drink. So I'm going to go get some porridge and some water. It should be easy for you to keep down."
Okay. Are you coming back?
Of course I am.
Please don't leave me here.
Of course. And he stands up, and you see him walk up like a small stone staircase, exiting the crypt. With you, inside the crypt, are several coffins. You're on a stone slab in the center of the crypt. Alongside, you can see each of them is labeled. They are priests by their names, many of which are from centuries ago. So the only thing to really keep you company while you wait for him to return is you squinting at these various coffins which tell the deeds of the dead men inside. Eventually, Tullius will return it takes about 5 minutes, with a steaming bowl of porridge and some water. He'll place them next to you and give you a little metal spoon, and he will just sit down in the chair and wait.
He's just gonna watch me eat?
Yep.
Okay.
And, once you're wrapping up, he will look up towards the stairs and say, "Balakion, bring down the spare clothes." And, priestess descends the stairs. She carries a set of fine clothes, sort of nice upper middle class garb, nothing too fancy. And it'll take the two of them to help you get it on, because while it doesn't super hurt to do stuff, you're just insanely physically weak. Sort of like they'll have to, Tullius will have to lift up your legs, and she'll have to pull on each pant leg. In any other context, it'd probably feel a bit awkward, but in this instance, I would imagine you're happy to get the help of being able to do anything.
Maybe, yeah, somewhat.
Somewhat? Okay, so still a bit of embarrassment, though?
Yeah.
Okay. Once you're dressed, you will be brought out of the crypt, and at this point, Tullius can support you. You'll head up.
Is it just us two?
It's just you two.
Okay, I want to ask him, why?
Why what?
Why did you do this for me?
You're my son.
But I was... Why? You were... We have no blood. You picked me off the street.
Sure. Do you think my father was my father by blood? No. Even our current emperor wasn't born to blood to the previous emperor. He was posthumously adopted. Adoption doesn't make you any less my child. If anything, it's stronger. We chose each other. There was no connection of blood.
What do you see in me that makes me so special?
Potential.
That word. It's what Hegel says sometimes.
Well, then I suppose we see the same thing in you.
Yeah.
And he will help you up the stairs. You move through the quiet sort of back corridors of the basilica until you get out to the carriage, which is waiting for you in a sort of like side corridor. This all seems to be well rehearsed to, expose you to as little stuff as possible. And the priest, the ecclesiarch, which is a very high-ranking member of the church structure, will bid farewell to Tullius, and the two of you will climb into the carriage. He helps you in, and then he begins to walk around to the other side. And, as you are placed onto the cushions of the carriage by Tullius, your skin starts to tingle, and you feel your perspective almost start to slide back within your own eyes. You don't feel like you. Your body feels like its own thing. A flesh puppet, breathing and looking at things of its own accord. You feel yourself to be something separate, and yet you can't identify what you are. Then you feel Tullius's hand squeeze your shoulder, and your awareness floods back. You also become aware of something else. A gaping hole. That same sixth sense that you noticed when you were in that strange place just after your death remains. Your connection to Hegel is missing. You have no idea where he is.
And with that, all of the magical stuff?
Oh yeah, all of it.
Okay, so then when I mentioned him to Tullius, I probably would have also...
Yeah, you probably reached out there, and because there's so many transitions happening, you probably didn't realize that specific thing. You realize he's probably not on this plane of existence. But once you get in the carriage and you actually, you can stop thinking about the physical and start focusing more on what's happening, I think that's where you get the full weight of impact and realize that you have no connection at all, which you haven't had a feeling like that since you were an 11-year-old boy.
I'm starting to breathe. If it's just us two, and even if it's not, I'm just gonna start breathing really heavily. I don't feel him.
He'll glance. He had his hand on your shoulder, and he'll sort of glance over. What's that?
I don't feel him.
Hasn't this happened before? He's been gone for some time and then returned?
Not like this. I can't even... And I'll try to do a little cantrip.
You go to snap your fingers just to do a quick, prestidigitation, or even, shoot an Eldritch Blast into the cobbles, but as you do so, nothing comes.
I don't know what's happening. Is he...
It may just take a moment of adjustment. Like I said, it took me some time to get used to what had happened to me. Perhaps it's some sort of mental block. There's no rush. You have time.
Okay. And then probably for the rest of the carriage, I'm just going to be snapping, trying to do something.
Yeah.
Right. Just seeing if I can feel it, or maybe I'm just not doing it right, or maybe there's something I'm missing.
Yeah, you keep trying every little somatic gesture. You start casting spells that if they actually go through would probably be very detrimental, but they don't, so it doesn't really matter. You're just testing somatic and verbal, and you're just mumbling to yourself, trying to do things. Tullius largely leaves you to your own devices, looking out the window, and the carriage rattles out of the city of Tarako along the Imperial Road, and soon it transfers to a dirty country path. Your eyes drift northward, and then in the distance you see the Galantian Sea. The winter storms have given way to calmer spring storms. The snow which was present here the last time you were at the estate has melted away, and it's given way to fields of lilacs and daffodils. If you weren't so freaked out at the moment, it'd probably be quite beautiful. And there, sitting atop a bluff overlooking the sea, are a series of fields. In the fields, debt slaves sow fire moss, while the rest of the estate is crawling with various servants maintaining the property. The cart pulls into the rotunda as you cast a couple of last desperate attempts at getting spells through. And you see Master Servant Cassius standing on the steps to the house. Tullius hops out of the carriage and heads around to your side to help you out. He'll help you down, and Master Servant Cassius will walk over at a brisk pace. He'll say, "Hello, Master. What room would you like prepared for your residence while you recover?"
This is my estate?
Yeah.
Yeah, then, which is whatever the biggest room is, probably the master bedroom, right?
Or the library, yeah.
Or so wait, I would stay in the library? I'm confused.
He could prepare anywhere for you. It could be the master bedroom, it could be the library.
The library.
He'll give a nod. Of course, Master. And do you have any special requests? Tullius will shake his head and say, "No, he's quite all right. Just, give him some time." And the master servant will nod and walk away. And Tullius will, sort of help you move up the steps into the building. You, despite the scariness of lacking your magic, a small amount of hope does sort of kindle within you, just because you can feel strength beginning to return to your limbs. Parts of it remain. Your skin is still chapped and raw. Even these very nice silk clothes feel like they're chafing against every inch of your skin. It feels like, a parade of ants are crawling across your entire body. But that deep guttural pain in your muscles is starting to abate, and you can even sort of support yourself. And it's been, an hour? So I think the confidence that at least that part of you will recover is pretty strong. And you'll eventually head into your library. The hundreds of tomes left from previous landlords and acquired by Tullius before he turned this estate over to you, gathered along the walls. Tullius will help you down into a chair, and he doesn't really say anything. He just sort of pops down in the chair next to you, grabs a book off the shelf and begins to read it occasionally, lowering it to glance over at you.
What do you think of that Hagal? Everyone else thinks he's evil. They think he's bad.
Perhaps he is.
You think so? But he's always helped me, just like you've always helped me. They were suspicious of you too once.
Just because the tool may be evil doesn't make its wielder evil. If Hagal was some evil creature, you've only used his magic for the good of the Empire. That doesn't reflect on you in any way. And perhaps he is. Stranger things have been known to happen.
But if he is evil, isn't that dangerous?
No, of course not. You simply need to use power in the right way. The origin of that power does not matter. Ultimately, such things as Hagal have little influence on our world without our consent. It is up to us, as men of will, to wield those weapons in the finest way that supports the Empire. He sort of reaches down to his waist and, in a sort of smooth move, twirls a dagger from it. This weapon was made to kill people. Very good at that. designed to cut straight through flesh, sever spines, remove heads from their shoulders. An immense piece of magical construction dedicated to killing. Used by a serial killer in the dark alleyways of Marsonia, it could be quite evil. Used by me in service of the Empire, it's an object of righteous good. It's simply just a tool, similar to this Hetagal of yours.
Okay.
Well, while you're recovering, I have managed to gain you a leave from the Imperial judges.
Is everyone else okay?
I believe they're a bit roughed up, but yes, they're just fine. They submitted evidence for the trial of Galerius. It's proceeding well. I believe the trial itself is in a couple of weeks. And they'll probably be assigned to some other tasks by the Department of Faith while you're still in recovery.
Severus, does he know?
No. No one else does.
When should we tell them? Surely he'll like to know.
It's up to you. I'd recommend you just tell them by your appearance. Recovery may take longer than you think.
Do I look ill? Do I look bad?
No.
So then I see Severus as my brother. He should know. I want to see him.
Well, we can send a letter.
Okay.
He'll go and fetch pen and some paper. Hand it over to you. Your dexterity, like your handwriting, is still quite not good.
I'm not making any forged signatures anytime soon.
Yeah, but the basic ability to write is still present.
Okay. Something like, dear brother, Tullius has brought me back. I'm in recovery at my estate. If you get a chance, I'd like to see you for the next mission. It's going to be a while for my recovery.
All right.
Best Zednius.
Best Zednius. All right, cool. Tullius will take the letter. He'll fold it up and then place it into one of his coat jacket, like his one of his jacket pockets. And he'll sit back down. So, since you have leave from the judges, I was thinking we could explore Tarako. I haven't spent much time in the city, since it's largely been loyal to the Empire. I only had a brief tour here when I was a young man. There's a fair number of sights to see.
Okay. So we'll just walk to the town. And I just own an estate in this city. Like, I don't have any power besides being
it's outside the city, and
okay.
Yeah, you hold no sway nor clout. At some point, you could work up to it.
As a judge, I'd be sort of like a mini celebrity in some cases, though, right? Or
potentially.
Okay.
Judges are generally more so feared than like idolized, especially in cities like this, where Tarako has a very long and traumatizing history with judges and inquisitors and things like that.
I don't remember if Zednius wanted to be a judge, and that's what Tullius gave him the opportunity, or if Tullius said, "Okay, you're done with Fermentari. Now learn what being a judge is like."
I think it's up to you.
Okay.
I think Tullius would have pushed for it, but like you may have also wanted to do it.
Okay. And is being judge like an end game thing, or
not for you?
For
someone like
okay.
Yeah, this is like kind of
be like asking Tullius what his end game plan for me if he sees all this potential.
Sure. So, yeah, He'll set the book that he was reading down in his lap and say, "Well, you're a member of Clan Barusian, the Emperor's clan. Perhaps one day, you'll even gain the honor of being a Perusian as well, a part of the main Emperor's line and not just descended from his blood. At that point, whatever it is you wish could be done. You could go into politics, the military, go be the master of some tiny corner of the Empire if you wish. Or you could assist me in what I do. Administration, managing assets, pushing the cause of the Empire in the dark corners where no one wishes to look."
The dark corners in the Empire, no one's willing to look. Maybe. I don't want to just be cooped up in some house all the time. I'm already getting a little weary.
Well, that's all in the future. For now, you'll need to finish your tenure as judge. And you can worry what comes next after that.
Right.
As I'm sure you're noticing now, the Almighty has a way to give a memento mori to anyone who forgets that death is a distinct possibility. You may not survive your tenure as judge.
I don't know what memento mori means.
It's a reminder of death. It's a phrase in Latin.
So so what gave me a memento mori?
The Almighty. The Almighty has a way of reminding people that no matter what, they're gonna die.
Yeah. Okay.
All men are mortal.
Okay.
But yeah, Tullius will nod, and he has a couple things he wants to do over the next week. He's a bit like a tourist. It's a very different side of Tullius. You know, he's like, oh, I want to go to this place, and I want to go to this place. And since you are deeply sick and still recovering, he's going to sort of drag you along to force you to get out of the library to do these things with him.
Well, and I think I'd rather be out of the house.
Yeah. So it's going to take about a week to do all the things that he wants to do. Is there anything you'd like to get done in the meantime? Your connection to Hetagal, while all your physical symptoms begin to noticeably improve, you don't have any more of those weird out-of-body experiences. Sometimes in carriages you start to feel a bit anxious, though you can't really locate the origin of that anxiety. But your connection to Hetagal has shown no improvement.
How many days has it been?
It'll be about a week.
Okay. I still don't feel anything, Father.
Yeah, so you guys have gone to a bunch of different landmarks at this point, and you're back inside the estate. You've probably moved to one of the rooms with a bunch of windows, and he'll glance up. Still nothing.
No.
Interesting.
What if he doesn't come back?
His facial expression sort of changes a little bit. He sort of like presses his lips flat. That would be unfortunate. He'll, that evening when you guys are getting dinner, he'll say, "Well, I have some, business that I must attend to for the Frumentari. I'll be back in a couple of days. I'm sure the servants will tend to whatever needs you may have until I return."
You're coming back?
Yes.
Okay.
And 8 days after your revival, you're finally alone for basically the first time. You sit in your lounge, and that order that, Tullius gave to sort of give you some space continues to sort of pervade throughout your estate. There's no servants within rooms around you. If you're looking out a window, gardeners intentionally stay away from that area of the property until you move somewhere else. and you finally get some alone time.
I'll try and read. I bet I probably wouldn't have any spell books or anything.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Not that type of spellcaster.
No, but I'd be like desperate at this point to do something, I think. So probably reading. I don't have comprehend languages anymore, so I can't read all of my books. But
that's probably another gut punch. Like you go to your shelf, you start to pull down one, and you realize I can't read this shit. Yeah.
So I'd probably read something on.
You open up one of the books with like arcane symbols on it and stuff. Yeah. You know, you can't read the text, but you can look at the diagrams.
Or any. I don't know if that would be legal, but anything.
It would be very illegal, but I think Tullius would probably have acquired at least one or two of those tomes for the library.
I'd probably be reading through that to see if I can find any hints.
Yeah, none of the text makes sense, but there are symbols located within. And I think your thoughts start to, drift back to when you first met Hethagal, because he hasn't always been with you. There was a time
but it's been most of my life.
Most of your life. 11 is when you found him / he found you, depending on how you look at it. And despite it being so long ago, you still recall very vividly when you first met Hethagal. Your mother was 5 years past. You barely recalled her face even at the time, and now you can scarcely recall what she looks like at all. Your father had thrown you from the shack that he called a home. He always ranked of booze, and when it got really bad, his anger would be unleashed on you. Your 2 siblings were gone. Quintus had died on the plains. Marcus had never even sent one letter home. He had no idea where he was now. You'd been living on the streets of the slums for 8 weeks. Every night you went to sleep hungry and cold. One night you were so hungry that a small part of you told you that you would die that night, that you were growing too weak. You could see each of your ribs. You saw the looks on people's faces when they saw you. Over the last 8 weeks, those looks had transformed from pity into indignance, as if they were just waiting for you to die so they could stop looking at you. You'd curled up in a small alleyway, pulling over a rotting blanket, crawling with bedbugs, trying to gain warmth. And then you dreamt. You loved to dream. Unlike other children you knew, your dreams were free of nightmares. They were your domain. You dreamed vividly and fluidly, the one place where you truly had control. That night, though, you did have a nightmare. You were in the ruins of a great city of black stone, towering high above the skyline, impossible architecture you'd never seen in the slums of Nauseous. It reminded you of a book your mother had read to you about the evil elvish empire and the demons who lived within it. You had wandered the ruins for what felt like hours. Then you stumbled across a tower. The same part of your brain that told you you were dying to hunger told you to climb the tower. So you did. Great chains were wrapped around the exterior of the tower, but you managed to slip through a crack in the crumbling edifice into the interior. It was sparsely decorated, everything covered in a layer of dust. And climbing up a stone stairwell, the uneasiness that had first developed when you entered the dream began to return. You knew it couldn't hurt you, but some small part of you wondered if it could. Then you reached the top of the tower. Within a vaulted chamber was a great black monolith covered in golden writing. The writing seemed to glow, and you felt wetness on your cheeks. It was beautiful. Warmth flooded your body. Emotions wafted over you. Fear, surprise, happiness, awe. The emotions became more complicated, and as you fell to your knees, you had received a message. It was never spoken aloud or in your mind, but it came through as clear as if someone had. This thing, this power would help you, make you special. You, of course, accepted, but a burning, searing pain started in your stomach. You began to claw at the stomach, searching for the origin, and you could tell the monolith had more to say to you, but you never heard it. You awoke in the alleyway and learned that the burning was from the hunger in your stomach. It was a mighty, ravenous thing. It dominated your mind. Any thought more advanced than food was unthinkable. But then you felt something touching your stomach. You looked and saw nothing there, but you felt something. A shard. An infinitesimally small shard of that monolith was there with you. And it spoke to you in a harsh, violent, and crude whisper. Het Hegal.
I'll probably jump backwards up against the wall. What?
Yeah. You sort of look around, now back where you are, you sort of look around where you are. You look around the study, your familiar estate. Unsure. I mean, it was a very, very vivid memory of the past.
Mm.
But that is how you first met him. So who knows what could make you meet him now? You certainly aren't starving in any cold, dark alleyways anymore. You're quite well fed.
What was the tower?
It was within that dream. It was just a dark tower wrapped in chains rising up within this ruined city inside the dream.
Ruined city with chains. No other... Because I did I just rehab this? Did I have a dream within a dream, or do I just...
I think this is just such a, I think this would be a core memory of Zednius. This is something that is almost unforgettable because Het Hegal basically saved him from everything. The moment he met Het Hegal, he gained access to cantrips. He was able to fend for himself. The almost inevitable death by starvation that so many other merchants had met, he never had to face that. So it was the moment where he became basically nobody into something special.
Okay, so what I think I'm going to end up doing then is I'm going to read as much as I can of those in any history book about a chained tower, and then sleep also as much as possible.
Okay.
To try and navigate dreams.
Yeah. Just as when you were a child, your dreams are basically fluid. You basically have total control over them. So you can try to recreate aspects of the city. It never is going to feel the same just because it's you recreating it. As for histories, roll me a history check. This will represent a couple days of research while Tullius is away.
Not great.
Yeah, not great.
Arcana would be better, but I don't know if that would help.
Probably not a ton in this particular context. You recall, reading these texts, you're able to find little about a chained tower. It's a very symbolic thing. There's a lot of things that it could represent. If you subscribe to the Natur Wiao faith, they believe that a chained tower represents stability, strength, being held back by something. And there are other groups which have a lot of symbolic associations with the chained tower, but in terms of actual concrete arcane explanations, nothing is quite useful. Nor are any of them seen as black towers or black stone towers, which is what you saw in your dream. You start to sleep a lot more. You can, again, several times find yourself in a facsimile of that place, but it's clearly not the same.
Okay.
So a couple days will pass. Been about a week and a half since you were revived. Tullius has not returned yet. And so you are still left to your own devices.
Are there any drugs that help you sleep?
Yes, certainly. There's a ascending scale of, there's sleep root, which is the colloquial name for a type of root which when turned into a liquid can assist in sleeping. And then there are things that are borderline poison, because if you consume 1 drop of them, it helps you sleep. If you consume 2 drops, it will kill you. And then there are the way more intense drugs, that drugs, not poisons, things like mother's milk or lady's tears, which these are all extracts of some sort of opium that's been modified by enterprising young alchemists and give it differing effects, but by and large will assist you in sleep. So it's just how aggressive do you want to be about this?
Well, I want to experiment, so probably as many different kinds as I can find.
Okay, you can probably
with alchemists in Tarako.
Yeah, most of these are either illegal or highly controlled within the Empire, but with your level of wealth, you can probably just give money to a servant and say, hey, I want this thing. Get me this thing. Yeah, I think over the next 2 days, you can acquire...
Probably eating less and less.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah.
Which might hurt the recovery, but...
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah, your skin is going to recover no matter what. These weird episodes of, like, unreality, that's going to recover, but your weakness in your muscles, that is not recovering. And over the next 2 days, servants can begin to acquire that. However, at this point, Tullius will return. He returns early in the morning. He'll join you in, like, your study. He'll talk about, some happenings across the Empire. It's early April. Actually, yeah, you and him are sitting in the study, and he'll sort of be looking over at you and say, it's not looking good in the West. Do you remember that Vice Admiral you met on Gela Isle? Or no, Breton?
A little bit. What happened to him?
Well, he gathered together a small fleet of some 40 ships, and they went west to Galadrim with the intent of gaining a small little raiding victory.
Is that where he sent the Makai?
Yeah, that is where he sent the Makai.
Okay.
It seems as if the fleet has met a rather horrible fate. The rumors vary. Some say all but 2 ships, others say all but 1 ship utterly destroyed. But, the fleet just returned to...
At sea?
At sea, yes. They fought a fleet of Alceranian ships, led by a Dwarven archmage. A rather, if it weren't so unfortunate, it'd almost be funny. It sounds like the start to a bad tavern joke, but the fleet was almost entirely defeated, a one-sided slaughter, and they just limped back into Red Dinium. It's an unfortunate thing. Hopefully the Dogs of War don't get their hopes up, because there are some in the Department of Faith calling for us to go invade Al-Siraz if we don't have our hands full with the war on the plains. How have you been doing? Master Servant Cassius says you're not eating as much as you used to.
I'm trying to recreate how I met him.
Met who?
Het Hagal. I was reading these books, and I'll splay out the books that I had. There was a dark tower, but I can't find anything. And I'm trying to sleep because I was in the dream. And I was hungry, so I'm not eating. And I don't feel anything.
Do you think it'll work?
Maybe if I keep looking into this tower.
He nods. And I think a small part of you realizes that, like, this is kind of self-destructive behavior, even if the reasoning behind it is good. And maybe, like, it probably isn't a good thing to encourage this type of behavior, and yet Tullius seems to have no qualms with it. He simply nods as if it's, like, totally normal, and says, well, it's probably a good thing, all things considered. I'll be stopping in. I still have things to do, but I should be able to come by every couple days to check in on you. If there's anything you need for this, I suppose, ritual of yours, just let me know.
If you can find any good historians, or someone that can help me figure out what this tower is, or was.
You say you saw this in a dream?
Yeah.
And then you met Het Hagal.
There was writing on the walls, and then when I woke, he was there.
There's a heretic in the dungeons of Tarako. He was an arcanist about 3 years ago. He was looking into the symbology of other faiths, and including the Daemon faiths, which is why he was put in prison in the first place. I could perhaps bring him for a day to speak with you, though of course afterwards to prevent him from speaking to his captors. It'd be finito, so you'd have to know what you wanted from him in advance. You'll get one conversation before we have to silence him.
And he's gonna be executed anyway?
No. He would sit in a dungeon cell rotting for the rest of his life. I'm not sure if this would be any worse than what he's facing currently.
You're doing him a favor, really, right?
I would agree. I had a very brief stint in a dungeon as a young man when I was on the Tabrashan Plains, and the concept of living the rest of my life out there is far worse than that of an execution.
Right. It's a good thing to ask him. Yes, bring him.
All right. I'll need a day. Technically, we'll be springing him from captivity, but of course, he won't get very far. Is there anything else I can get for you?
What are the summoning ritual spell components?
For like summoning circle, like for conjuring.
Summon for the find familiar spell.
Oh, okay.
It's like a brazier and then 10 gold worth of.
Okay, he will. Yeah, purchase a brass. He'll get you a brass brazier and 10 GP, and as he stands up, he says, "I'll make sure that Cassius complies with your wishes. If you think that starving yourself is the best way to do this, then we should do it."
Right.
He'll nod and exit from the library. And later that day, a servant will deliver to you the brazier and the herbs. It's all of the finest quality. It's a little bit extra, it's like 20 GP worth of gold, and it's a brazier with like embroidery along the edge. And that evening, you get some sleep, and you try to dream of that place, and you see the dark towers and the ruined city, and it's not right. But the next day, early in the morning, a nice spring rain has come in. The fields have largely been sown at this point, so most of your debt slaves have been rented off to some other, estate to help them sow their seeds, though some have remained to tend to the crop. And you will spend the day in the library, sort of like just waiting, reading tomes, flipping through pages of arcane diagrams and manuscripts, looking at the images, trying to map them onto what you know. And I think you have a good amount of arcane knowledge, a lot of it taught to you by Tullius, a decent chunk also self-taught while you were undercover in Praeton. But there is a level of arcane understanding, a magical level of arcane understanding that wizards seem to possess, like that ability to like transcribe scrolls and stuff like that, or conduct very complex rituals that you just don't have. Which makes this all a bit more complicated. But that evening, as you sit in a quiet corner of the room, there will be a knock at the door, and the servant will walk in. Mr. Servant Cassius, he'll give a bow and say, "My lord, your father, Lord Tullius, is currently waiting in the wine cellar. He said that you should bring along the brazier and the herbs, and that mutual friend of yours is there."
He means a different mutual friend. Before we do this, let me brainstorm some questions since I already had a couple of days.
Yeah, of course, yeah. You had like a day and a half.
So it's like, I know that it's the Dark Tower in a ruined city. It's chained. There's a lot of magic inside. And then I can describe sort of Hegals, the slimy, pseudopody, oily, almost black creature. What color was the text on the wall, or what language was it?
It was golden script, and I don't think that you recognize the text at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was golden script on a black monolith. Yeah.
On a black monolith inside of a dark tower in a ruined city that had chains all around the tower?
Yes.
Okay. I'll bring the ingredients and I'll go down to him.
All right. You head out. You can walk mostly on your own at this point. It's been about 2 weeks, so your physical strength has largely returned, the soreness in your muscles. You still feel this constant rumbling in your belly due to, sort of depriving yourself of food. You're also growing a bit hollow looking. You can even recognize that in mirrors. You don't have a lot of weight to lose in the first place, so, yeah. It's looking a bit malnourished, but
I'm looking a bit gone.
Yeah. You head out to the external entrance to the wine cellar, open up the door. The sort of wind and rain batters you into the cellar, and down there. It's
only been a few days, so I wouldn't have lost really.
No, you wouldn't have lost that much weight. It's just that you were already sickly beforehand due to the true resurrection sickness, and that combined with starving yourself, it's a bad combo. You head into the basement. It's barely lit. Only a single lantern sits on a barrel. And you can see the sort of loose silhouette of Tullius sitting next to the lantern on the barrel. And sitting in a chair is a wretched looking man. He wears a potato cloth covering him. He has a long beard that is scraggly and crawling, like visibly crawling with lice. It is disgusting. Shoulder length hair that is entirely unkempt with like this shaggy line as if like he must have used like a prison shiv or something else to cut his hair. He is a oily, rotting specimen of humanity. And he looks up at you with large, sorrowful eyes. Tullius will glance over. Well,
is he in chains or anything, or is he?
No.
He's just sitting here?
Okay. Correct. He's just sitting in the chair.
Okay.
He's heavily illuminated by the lantern. The lantern is one of those bullseye ones, and it's pointed at him, so he's almost like pointed at him.
We need to, but we have to be somewhere that's we have to be somewhere that's not open for this private conversation, but I'm already uncomfortable.
That's fair.
Being in the basement.
Yeah.
But I guess I have to be a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's okay. This isn't like an overpowering phobia. It's just a uncomfort that lingers after death. But yeah, Tullius will say, well, I introduce to you Lord Zednius Titus Fabricia Varusian, a young and up-and-coming member of the senatorial class who wished to speak with your intelligent mind. Zednius, this is Arcanist of Asturion. The Arcanist just looks at you with those big, hollow-looking gaze.
Okay, I'll sit down in a chair. I'm assuming there's probably an open chair for me to sit in.
Yeah, there's a couple stools.
Have you heard of the Dark Tower in Chains? I know that it's a story, but I think that it's something more.
He thinks for a moment. It's a symbol within many cultures. I know nothing beyond that.
It's not a real place?
No.
What about black obelisks with golden script on them?
He thinks for a moment. Yes. That is I've heard of a thing such as that being excavated from the Western Mountains. A number of these things. I read a fascinating paper by the Archmagus of Toussaint. He said such things were elven lodestones. Little is known about them, other than their immense magical potential.
Were they all recovered?
I don't know. I'd only heard of 2 being excavated, and both have disappeared into the hands of private collectors. There's been no true arcane research conducted, at least not publicly. I just want to say thank you.
Right.
For freeing me.
Of course. Well, yeah. But what if the have you ever heard of small, like inky black pseudopod-like demons? Is that somewhere?
Demons?
Or elven?
Well, what you're describing
Almost sounds like something from Red Galador, the Plane of Shadow. But the inky nature of it, that makes it almost sound different. Things from the Plane of Shadows resemble small, shadowy creatures. He gestures with his finger between like 1 and 2 feet. They typically are that size, and they have an emotional aspect to them. But that doesn't sound almost... It sounds a bit different to what you're describing.
Where did they take these elven lodestones?
As I said, disappeared into the hands of private collectors. The first one was uncovered back in 1273 and sold to, some woman. And the second one is in the hands of the Silver Mountain Dawi of Islathyr. I've corresponded with the Archmagus of Tuswell. I previously corresponded with the Archmagus of Toussaint about perhaps visiting it in Islathyr, but he assured me the dwarves there had no desire in external communication.
I've only heard of the silver and the blue mountain Dawi and the red mountain Dawi. What's the silver difference between the silver ones?
I don't think you've ever heard. I don't think Zednius would have ever heard of the Silver Mountain Dawi.
Okay. Where is the Silver Mountain Dawi at? I've never heard of them.
They're in the Vorn Mountains. They're exiles from the Blue Mountains that fled northward after the Red King rose. It's a very small kingdom at the moment, but they still have great magics of old.
And the other was a private collector?
Yes. The Archmagus said it was something like Baroness von Herwegen, I think it was her name.
Oh no, that sounds familiar. Out of character, I think.
It should.
Oh no.
There
It was almost like a dead end.
A colleague of mine had a theory that they were involved in elven god sculpting, though I know little of that field of research. It's not my expertise by any means. And it's of course strictly heretical to research such a thing.
Do you have any associates outside of the Empire that would have studied it?
Yes, certainly. There's of course the Archmagus of Toussaint, though I believe that he since moved on to serving Hathan. He took great interest in the discovery of the Lodestones, believing them to have a great arcane potential. And, anyone who studies elven studies likely knows a little bit of the theory of god sculpting. We know little of it, but it is...
What does that mean?
He looks towards Tullius for reassurance, and Tullius nods and sort of... They clearly talked about this before, but Tullius says again,
"As I said before, nothing you say here is going to get you in trouble." And the Arcanist nods and says, "Well, there are many murals within what elven ruins can be found that indicate there is a religious order, or perhaps not the right word, arcane order, a sect amongst the elves who partook in a practice they called god sculpting. The specifics of it or how it worked or anything like that, we just don't know. But it's
just something they tried to do?
Perhaps it's an arcane art, not dissimilar to flesh sculpting. And on the name, we can make some assumptions as to what it meant, though there are no in-depth guides that have been found that explain it. It's more so references to the order. They're treated with veneration. I only know the surface level of this, though. True scholars of the subject know the specific murals and what they say and the names of the most famous of the god sculptors. They were like heroes to the elves.
Would knowing their names help? Or would do you know who some of these...
I don't know them.
Oh. I looked at Tullius as in, like, I don't know exactly what else I need to ask.
Tullius gives a nod and says, "Well, could you see anything that could connect all these elements? The tower, the monolith, this creature that my friend Zednius mentioned. The Arcanist sort of shakes his head. Tullius nods and says, well, that's very unfortunate.
In dreams, that's where I saw it the first time. Is there a way to get back there in the dream?
A dream? A dream or a vision?
Both?
Well, visions are well known to... When you sleep... Well, this is my belief. When you sleep, your soul leaves your body, and you travel to the realm of souls. And there, when you have a nightmare, great evil beasts are feasting upon your fear. But when you have a pleasant dream, the angels of the Almighty are delivering them onto you. So if you received such a vision, perhaps something from the realm of souls was speaking to you.
Is there a way that I could speak back to it?
Typically, they must be the one to start the conversation, but once you are within their realm, you should be able to speak. One of the things that got me in trouble was attempting to isolate methods through which I could speak to demonic forces without actually summoning them. I wanted a layer of security between myself and them. I wished to astral project to the place that they could speak with me. And one of the things that I encountered was when I'd dreamt of a certain thing, I attempted to recreate everything prior to sleeping to make it identical to that initial circumstance in which I had the dream. For example, there was one night I dreamt of a four-armed demon with great red skin and axes in each hand. And that night, I'd smoked a pipe, I'd done some fire moss, I had gone to my bedroom and drinking a glass of warm milk. And so every time I did that sort of ritual, it almost brought me back to that dream. Though whether it was a true vision or a dream, even I am not sure.
So do you think that would work if I recreated the exact circumstances?
As close as possible.
I look for Tullius. I think we've got what we need.
Tullius nods and says, wonderful. Well, Arcanist, we thank you greatly for your assistance. And, let's get you going on your way. I think, out at the orchard, we'll be able to get you on a small ship that'll take you away. It connects to the bluffs, you see. And the Arcanist nods, and Tullius hops off the crate. You know he's lying, but there is zero indication of it on his face or body language. I mean, you, of course, know how talented Tullius is at what he does, but it's still a bit unnerving when you're directly there. And him and the Arcanist head up the steps, out into the light drizzle, and you see the little lantern bobbing as it walks in the direction of the orchard.
And what was the city I was in?
Tarako? When you experience it, Nauseous, your home city. One of the biggest shitholes in the Empire.
Okay. I want to go to Nauseous.
Yeah, you can head inside your house, start making plans, and Tullius will be back in about 40 minutes. He's got dirt on his boots. Other than that, no real sign of anything. And he'll walk in, sort of stretch a little bit. Well, what are you planning on doing with that information?
I want to go to Nauseous. We should make it as similar as it was, like you said.
All right, I suppose it can be arranged. How far are you going to go with this? Are you going to try to make yourself an 11-year-old boy again?
I don't think I can quite do that.
All right, then.
And refresh my memory, because I know we just said it, but I was in Nauseous. I was dirty, tattered clothes, starving, sleeping on the street. Yep. Mother was dead. That doesn't need that she's still dead.
She is indeed still dead. Both your brothers are still dead. Your dad was alive, but now he's dead.
But my dad wouldn't have hit me that night or anything.
No, that was you'd been out of his house for weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, yeah. I guess technically your current dad, is still alive, which is Tullius. Maybe he needs to become an alcoholic to really make the ritual successful.
He needs to beat me up and kick me out of the house.
Yeah, for 8 weeks. It's so true.
I mean, if this doesn't work, we might get there. But so
okay. So what are the parts of it that you're going to try to recreate? You're going to go to Nasius. You're going to starve yourself, which you've already been doing for the last couple days.
I'm going to just live on the streets I'm going to have crappy clothes. I'm going to get by just off stealing things.
Yeah, as you explain all this, Tullius will say,
perhaps we try a lighter version of the ritual first before we do this full commitment. I'm not saying it'll work, it's just,
Like what?
Well, perhaps you find the same alleyway, get very hungry. I don't know, whatever other steps you think are needed.
We can start there,
It just seems like a lot. Not very recreatable.
We have to try.
I suppose so.
and he will get in a carriage with you and head to the city of Nasius. It's 4 days by carriage. He will join you, and as you get close to the city of Nasius, you probably start to get a bit shifty. I mean, do you imagine Zednius having any positive memories of Nasius?
I like old Gideon's stories.
That's true, but that old beggar it'd be a miracle if that man was still, like, alive and conscious and vibing.
Yeah, but it's only been, 11 years since then. So
it has been 11 years, yeah. It is possible for him to be alive, yeah.
But
by and large, pretty negative.
It's the good memories, yeah.
So you slowly get closer to the second largest port city in the Empire, the largest in Cispon Parcellaria. Eventually, you rattle into the city streets, and you head closer to the dock district, which is where you scamped about. And it takes you back to, you haven't been here in a very long time. You did a little bit of your fermentari training here, like some of the basic stuff like pickpocketing and things like that. But other than that, you've not been back here. There's just been no reason to. Your fermentari work took you to Breton. Prior to your long-term infiltrations, you were sent to a bunch of different cities. So coming back here, you see struggling half-elven urchins, not dissimilar to how you were back then. You see drunk layabouts. You see corners where you got into fights, corners where you starved, corners where you stole. You even passed the street where you first tried to steal from Tullius and came on his radar in the first place.
Is he with me?
Yeah, he's sitting in the carriage next to you as you rattle down the street.
I'll ask him, what were you doing here anyway, when we met?
It was a long time ago, but if it was 11 years, I think I was planning an assassination.
Oh.
You sound
Not that
disappointed.
memorable? I thought it'd be something more memorable. Like fate had drawn us together.
Rarely is that the case. Severus was not dissimilar. I was walking the countryside, making my way to Ravinium. I had a appointment with a man there, and as I was traveling through the countryside, I heard a rumor of a young boy who'd been arrested. I think he was 9 or 10 at the time, and they were going to cut off his hand. And well, whenever I hear such stories about young boys who need a purpose in their lives, who have skills that can be used for the good of the Empire, I go out of my way. Make sure that they can foresee their higher purpose. For you is no different. Perhaps it was fate that you stole from me and not some other easy-looking mark, but I have a feeling it had more to do with me searching out people with potential and less so the Almighty placing us together. Well, do you want me to, I guess you sort of need to do this on your own, right, to really get the full experience?
I think so.
Alright, I'll be at a tavern near the docks, and
he sort of points out some random, like, sleazy-looking tavern along the water's edge. He climbs out of the carriage and tells the stagecoach driver to, make his way to a finer establishment and wait there until he's needed. And, you sort of are just immersed in the docks once again. The smells, mostly human feces and rot, because it's just a miserable place. And a lot of foreign, this is one of the nicer parts, which is a lot of the foreign foods and things like that. Nasius is a major international shipping hub, so you get Tabrashan food and Mithdosian food and half-elven food. But that's sort of like a thin veneer of niceness on the otherwise crime-ridden shithole that is most of the city. And Tullius will walk over. He'll, like, put a hand on your shoulder. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And he'll walk away over in the direction of that sleazy-looking bar. And, over the course of about 6 steps, it's an incredibly impressive thing where, like, rather than doing a full body illusion all at once, which would be obvious to everyone standing around him, he starts by disguising his boots, and then slowly disguises his pants, and then his shirt. And so by the time he's walked like a full block, he looks, totally different to what he looked like when he was talking to you. So, what's the strat? What's the ritual?
Well, I haven't eaten today, or probably since yesterday's breakfast.
Oh yeah, your stomach's growling. It's not that, like, I'm gonna die soon level of hunger, but you're certainly hungry.
I go towards the alley I was in.
Yeah, you walk over, and it's kind of freaky how similar it is to the past. There was a gutter on the edge of the alleyway, which, back then, a lot of different things used to flow through it, but now it's mostly just cruddy, disgusting rainwater. The alleyway itself is filled with old, rotting milk crates and pallets and wooden refuse. You can see at the far end of the alleyway there's 2 rats fighting over some... You can't even tell what the food is meant to be, but the rats are very intent on fighting over it.
I'll place my hand against the wall, close my eyes, and just say, Het Hagal.
You speak the name. You remember when you first met him, you were a little bit unnerved for obvious reasons. This fucking random ass oily inky thing was sitting on your chest. And you sort of look around the alleyway, and you still feel that hole in your chest.
I'll sit down on the corner.
Yeah.
Feeling kind of, I know I've got Tullius, but I'm really lonely without Het Hagal.
Yeah, he was always there.
Probably pounding my fists on the ground, crying. This was supposed to work. This was supposed to work.
As people walk past you, some of them shoot you glances, and you get a whiplash of deja vu, because when you were a little kid, when you'd first been kicked out, you were like 11 years old. You were a nice, cute looking kid. People were, they gave you these very, like, pitiful expressions. Some of them even gave you stuff. But after, you started to look like a street urchin, they looked at you like you were disgusting or crazy. And they give you that same sort of look now, like a grown-ass man sitting on the sidewalk, like punching the stone, crying. Like, the people that walk past you, they either don't look at you at all, or when they do, it's like they look at you like, what's wrong with you? Indignance, annoyance.
Okay. I try not to pay them any mind, because I don't need their scowls.
True.
I'm assuming I didn't get angry back then about it.
No.
Probably just hopeless, defeated.
Yeah, giga despair.
Which is similar to what I'm feeling now.
Yeah.
And probably after the sun is set, the moon has come up. I don't know if I feel like it's time to give up, or if I should just try to sleep here. Or I'll just stay sitting in this corner. Yeah. Against the wall for the rest of the night.
Eventually, exhaustion sort of overtakes you, and you sort of curl up halfway in the alleyway, halfway in the street, like on the sidewalk. And as you drift off to sleep, you feel this aura of dread hang over you. At first you see nothing, but then a vision comes into view. Underneath you are black cobbles. The buildings around you are great twisted spires of black stone. Incredibly strange looking, alien in architecture, uncreatable by any method you've seen. I put an image in the chat. The stream viewers have been seeing it the whole time. And you're back. You have not been here in a very long time, and I think you probably weren't even fully convinced it was a real place. But now that you're here, it feels as tangible as anything else. The towering spires above you are most certainly real. The hard cobbles that you're standing on are real. The gray rolling black sky above you. It's all real.
I start running towards the tower.
Yeah, it's taller than the rest, and the chains that encapsulate it, even as a young man, like even as a young boy, these look like massive, but you see they're now as large as your chest. These great silver chains wrapped around the tower. And you begin to sprint forward. Your muscles are still weak in the stream, and that makes it feel even more real. The weaknesses of your body in Valros seem to move on to wherever this place is, and your feet carry you forward. And something that you hadn't quite picked up on as a child, but you do now, is the profound loneliness and emptiness of this place. There's nobody. There's not a single person, a single bird. There's no rats. There's not even a smell to this place. It is profoundly empty. And you approach the tower. Similar to before, it is crumbling. Great stone blocks rest around the turret of the tower, and you can squeeze your way in through one of the portions of it and begin to move up the stairs. Are you sprinting up the stairs as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going right to where I think that lodestone was.
Yeah. Glow, a sort of golden glow, pulses from above as you sprint up the stairs, and you start to move a bit faster. Your muscles are screaming that this is a bad idea. They don't want to do this. There's a lot of exertion, but you can, you're in charge of this particular body, so you can continue to charge up the stairs. And as you reach the top, you see a great black monolith, 20 feet high, covered in golden script. It seems so much brighter than the last time you viewed it. Before, the text seemed to pulse, barely alive. Now, it glows like a brilliant fire, illuminating this entire level. And standing beside the monolith is a creature that you scarcely recognize. The creature seems vaguely familiar. It has bat-like wings on either side of its round central body, 4 spindly legs beneath supporting it. Its body hardly seems solid, though. Even as you look, its ink-like surface ripples, and it seems to move closer to you without lifting any of its legs. And then it speaks. Zednius.
Once I hear that his voice is... I'm assuming, I don't know if all demons sound like that, but I'm assuming this is Hegel, and I'm going to hug him.
Yeah, you rush forward, and as you do so, your eyes burst open. You find yourself from the alleyway, and you feel the light slap of a pseudopod against your face.
Is it real?
You live.
I'm gonna reach. I'm assuming he's still invisible, but I'm gonna reach towards the invisible and hug him.
Yeah, you reach up to hug him, and he is much bigger than before. He's a full-size class larger now.
So he's bigger than the disintegrate time.
Yes.
He's grown since then, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
And you reach out to hug him, and he also has more bulk to him. As you hug him, he doesn't just fade away. He doesn't just squeeze down to nothing, which is what he would have done before. There's some mass to him, which is a little bit odd, but you pull him in, and he doesn't really say anything.
Oh, is that him? He's a ball with wings?
That is him. He's a ball with wings and legs, spindly little legs. And yeah, you pull him in, you hug him, He says nothing. A person sort of walking by the alleyway looks at you like you're an insane person because you're hugging the air and like probably, crying a little bit. And Hetagal says nothing. He just remains there.
I got brought back. True resurrection, he said. Father brought me. I thought I'd lost you.
I thought you were gone as well.
I'm glad I found
You
you.
disappeared from Alvan Gardum.
What? When I died?
No.
When?
In your death, you were brought to the land of Alvangardum. You were spared the hounds, and then you were taken from us back to here.
Wait, let's play through the events of when I was in the realm of souls or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that the pseudopod thing came out of a rift, and it pulled me through, and then I came to life. So
yeah,
I'm a little confused.
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. I saw, and I'm assuming the pseudopod stuff reminds me of him. An arm like yours pulled me through the rift.
Yes.
Is that Alvangardum?
Alvangardum is the city.
It's where that tower is?
Yes. You do not remember, but I do.
When was I there? I was just there in my dream. Is that what you mean?
He shows you a mental image. It is the moments of your death from his perspective. He was seated on the shoulder of Grania, assisting her, reaching his pseudopod out, slapping their foes, distracting them so that Grania could get her full effectiveness. And then
Grania? I thought it was...
Was it Grania?
I'd have to rewatch it.
Oh, somebody. He was on somebody's shoulder.
Yeah,
he was on somebody's shoulder assisting them.
Okay.
And then he looked. And the moment you died, he also disappeared. Because you are the only thing tethering him to this world.
Maximus.
Maximus. It could be Maximus.
It could have been Grania, because I don't think she ever actually knew he was... She didn't know the full extent of him.
It's somebody's, okay? And the moment you disappeared, he also disappeared. But unlike you, where you appeared in the Realm of Souls, he appeared directly in Alvangardum, because that's where he's from. And it was him who basically, from his perspective, he went to the Golden Monolith. Some communication happened beyond your ability to communicate. And then, with power lended to him from the Golden Monolith, he tore open a portal into the Realm of Souls, pulled you through, and from his perspective, he spent 3 weeks with you. You talked, you had full conversations, he told you great, he was able to speak in full sentences. He was even able to, talk with you in a way he simply can't on the material plane because it physically hurts him. And then you just disappeared all of a sudden. And that's what it was like from his perspective. From your perspective, you remember nothing of Alvangardum, not even a single second.
It's like what Tullius said, you don't see what happens after you cross the veil. So I had crossed the veil.
Yeah.
And I don't remember any of that. Okay.
Nope. And I think you get the sense of, weirdly enough, Hetagal is a pretty angry little fella, and I think a small part of you expects him to be kind of judgmental here, annoyed that you don't remember it, but he just seems sad. And the full eloquent sentences that he was spilling out when he had first entered the material plane sort of fade away, and all he says is, tragic.
Yeah. I wish I remembered, bud.
And you can, through that deep empathic connection with him, you can feel the pain that he does every time he speaks. For me, even coherent thoughts are difficult for him on the material plane. It's like, if you were living in the Feywood the whole time, it would seriously begin to make your life difficult. And that's what it's like for him to be here. But he will, use his little spindly legs to navigate up to your shoulder. He'll like squish down. And I think he'll just sit there.
It was better than the last time I saw it. A bit brighter.
Yes.
Kinda lonely, though. Has it always been like that?
No.
Where did everyone go?
He seems to think for a moment.
Gave up.
He will wait a couple more moments and he will say,
Callum Rasa lives.
How do we get it back? I thought it would have gotten destroyed like everything else.
He will begin to vibrate on your shoulder a little bit. Like his entire body begins to move left and right. His body contorts inward. And then you hear, it is the closest thing to vomiting you've ever heard Hetagal do. He doesn't do anything like normal humans do. He doesn't breathe. He doesn't really eat in the traditional sense. And yet this seems a lot like vomiting. And a moment later, you sort of see this really weird thing where, because he's invisible, you don't see the sword until it fully exits his body and then it plops down onto your chest. And Callum Rasa is there, the exact same as it was before. Hetagal feels slightly lighter than he did before.
He's a whole 2 pounds lighter.
Oh yeah, a whole 2 pounds lighter on your shoulder.
1 pound.
1 pound lighter on your shoulder.
Down 1 pound.
Yeah.
That's a really light sword, is that right?
It is incredibly light. It's mithril levels of light.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose we should go get Tullius. Get back to the estate.
He says nothing. He does not feel strongly about this. Yeah. He just remains seated on your shoulder.
Okay, and then I'll get up and start going. I'll start to shoot a little bit of... Well, before we leave the alley, I'm going to bring out a mage hand, minor illusion, some cantrips.
Yeah, it all works perfectly. Essentially, you and Hetagal are a... what is the word for that? Syncretic? No. Sympathic? I don't know what the word is. It's the opposite of a parasite. Basically... Symbiotic, yeah, there it is. He can't be on this plane without you. And you can't do anything, like magic-wise, without him. And so you make your way up, walk down to the docks, head over to that tavern where Tullius was in. You step into the bar, and you straight up cannot see him. There are a bunch of people in here drinking. None of them look like Tullius.
If I'm gonna flash my magic eyes.
Oh, God, that must feel so good for Zednius. Like, he walks in, he, like, doesn't know how to solve this, and then he's like, oh my God, I have fucking magic. Now, you don't have a judge's badge, so if you get caught casting magic in public, it could be a bit awkward until you get a new one. But, yeah, you can flash your magic eyes, and instantly you can locate a tall, buff man in a side booth, arm wrestling a guy across from him. He's not doing great, but, doing better than he should for how skinny Tullius actually is.
Mm-hmm. I'll just observe and then wait until it's finished.
Yeah, Tullius eventually wins, and you can see that he sort of cheated. He adjusted the position of his elbow and, like, slightly tapped the bottom of the table to fuck up the other person's grip, and then he, boom, slammed it on the table. But the other guy just angrily sort of stands up and pays for Tullius's drink, and Tullius sees you sort of just lingering there. A couple people are looking at you, and Tullius stands up from the booth, walks over. He, like, wraps his arm aggressively around your shoulder like he's about to tell you off, but he just sort of whispers and says, "What? Well, is it done?"
It worked.
He looks at you, looks at your shoulders. Obviously, he sees nothing. He withdraws his arm.
All right, then. He looks back at the table and says, I'll get you bastards later. And then he walks out of the bar. You follow behind him, and over the course of about 6 steps, he transforms back into Tullius. And he stays sort of quiet as you walk along the docks in the direction of where your carriage is stored, and he says, well, it worked then.
He's back.
No.
No.
You know, you asked me this earlier, but perhaps now that he's here, he can clarify. What is Hetagal? What is this monolith?
It's Alvan Gardum, he says.
What does it mean?
Is it Elvish? Can you translate?
Alvan Gardum. Alvan Gardum. I don't think so. It seems like a proper noun of sorts. Callum Rasa I knew. That one means Blade of Stars. But...
Well, it seems like this is where he lives. By himself in this tower.
One small creature in a massive city, only accessible by dreams. What of this lodestone? Did you see it again?
Yes.
Does it feel like a real place? If they are as powerful as that fine arcanist said, Mithdosica could certainly use one.
Well, if it's in Alvan Gardum, I don't think that it's on this realm. I think it's wherever that realm is. Beyond the veil.
Could've. He starts to say something and sort of cuts himself off. And he just will sort of quietly continue to walk through the city. Eventually you get to the very nice tavern where your carriage driver was staying. And he will be woken up. It's like 9 or 10 p.m. It's pretty late in the day. It's nighttime. But you guys are rich, so you can kind of ignore normal people hours. And you can wake up your carriage driver. He will make his way down to the cart. He will drink a large cup of coffee provided by the owner of the inn, and then the cart will begin to rattle out of Nauseous. And you can leave this wretched city behind. And once you're alone in the cart and the city rattles behind you, Tullius will ask, do you think other people could make pacts with Hetagal or this monolith in the same method that you did?
I'll ask Hetagal telepathically.
I think what he will say is... Oh, no, that's too long. I think he will essentially just say yes. That's the... Anything else takes too much effort.
I mean, it's not... I'm sure that there's, like, extra steps, but if it is possible, a yes is fine.
He'll just say yes.
Yes.
Tullius will give a slow nod.
It's time to start systematically starving people and tossing them in that alley. I didn't say that. That was out of character.
Tullius will say, interesting. Well, I think the worst effects of your resurrection or sickness are over with. You may have 1 or 2 more moments of a strange experience, but you're firmly back in the land of the living. And once you fill out those cheeks with some flesh again, you'll look properly healthy as well. I'll be resuming my duties at the Frumentari. When the Department of Faith finishes their next task, I'm sure that they'll send you a letter letting you know that you're needed. Until then, you'll have probably a lot of time to spend your estate in Tarako. Any idea what you'll do with it all?
With the estate, or with all the time, you mean?
Both, I suppose.
Gearing back up to be a judge again. I'm missing quite a few combat accessories.
Yes. He looks at your waist. He clearly noticed Column Rasa before, but just hadn't kind of mentioned it. But now now that you mentioned it, he sort of points at your waist and says, I assume that came back with Etagal.
Yes.
It's impressive for something to survive a disintegration.
It is.
Any idea why?
Maybe I don't know. If I had to guess, maybe it just returned to where it came from. Maybe it's just like he is.
Earlier, a couple of days ago, you asked me where I saw this all going towards. Where do you see it going towards? Do you wish to remain a judge? In the long term.
What is... I mean... I think it'd be cool to stay in the family business. Maybe I'll find a little Zednius of my own.
Perhaps. He just nods. And you will spend the rest of the evening clattering across the countryside.
This is in like an approval nod or like a, okay, I heard you. Like how did...
It's more so the second one. I heard you.
Okay.
You guys will clatter across the countryside and end up resting in a roadside tavern, and then 2 more days of similar travel. And about 15 days after you've come back to life, which puts you on April 5th. You return to the estate. You and Tullius have a very nice dinner, and then he bounces out to return to his duties. That leaves you with 12 days of additional time to do your shit. It's probably going to end up being way longer than 12 days. It's just 12 days guaranteed 100% the player's going to be doing other stuff. After that point, I don't know. It depends on what they do. So we can do 12 days now and then all the other downtime later. So with 12 days of free time, you are still afflicted by resurrection sickness, but functionally...
I don't know how much money I have.
Yeah. Let's take a look at your... So on personal wealth, you obviously have all the shit on you got destroyed.
Right.
However, your estate generates revenues. Let me double check. Zednius estate. Okay, Master Cassius. Alright, you could withdraw up to 425 gold from the estate.
Okay. How much does mithril stuff cost?
50 golds per pound. 50 gold per pound. There it is. Okay. I said golds per pound. That's not grammatically correct.
Okay, so 50 per pound. Then I guess I could get the mithril shield.
Yep.
And then I can't afford the breastplate. Because it's 10 pounds, I think.
Yeah.
You said 450?
425.
So 425. And then minus 150 for the shield.
All right. So that brings us down to 275, which is not enough for 10 pounds of meat.
It's enough for a regular breastplate, probably.
Oh, it's more than enough for a regular breastplate, yeah.
I don't know how much a regular... Okay.
Let's take a look. I'm guessing 800 pence. That's my guess. Let's take a look. It costs 8,000 pence. Okay, a little bit more. 8 gold.
Okay. I can do that. 67.
Did you add the shield and like the fancy?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't add the fancy, no.
Okay.
Usually I do a +1 shield and then I just rename it. and drop the weight.
That would be the fancy way to do it, yeah.
Well, I didn't know if you like go into the actual settings of the item. I know you can kind of do that.
You can indeed do that, yeah. Okay, there we go. Shield, phase 3. Okay, boom. And then the other thing you wanted was just a standard normal metal breastplate. What's your carry capacity?
It's your weight times 10, right? Or your strength
5.
times 10? Strength times 5, so I can carry 55.
Okay, so I'm fine for now. Yeah. Okay, cool. Calamasa, fine clothes, mithril shield, breastplate.
That's probably it for now. I'm probably, for the rest of the time, researching... Because I don't know any ways to find magic items or anything.
No.
And
no, I mean,
you
do know one way
than...
that Zednius got... Or not Zednius, Severus got super fucking triggered by, which is trying to talk to the Department of Magic, but...
But I could almost get something out of that.
You are also a member of the Department of Magic, unlike Severus.
I'm a Fabricia.
Yeah.
But I need to re-get my judge's badge.
Yes, that you will be able to get relatively easily. You just need to head to the Department of Faith in Tarako and then say, hey, I would like a judge's badge and a golden holy symbol, and then they will send a letter to Mythos, and within about 3 days, you will be able to reacquire your judge's badge. It's a new one, obviously. And a golden holy symbol of Aurelian Soul.
Okay, and then I'd like... That's fine. We could go to the Department of Magic in Tarako.
Yeah.
And see if they've got... I don't know what I would specifically request.
Sure.
Any sort of like low-level, uncommon-y, something that may help.
Yeah, it's not a huge deal. You can just go there. You make your way to the Department of Magic in Tarako. It's a smallish building. Almost all the great departments, except for Faith, have a pretty small presence in Tarako. Faith is really big in Tarako. It's very powerful. But you make your way to the Department of Magic building. It's like a dinky little wizard tower left over from a couple hundred years ago. You can tell because it has no seam on the exterior stone. It's clearly not built by like masons. And heading inside, there is a male half-elven clerk at the desk. He will sort of look up as you enter. Hello, sir.
Hello. I'd like to inquire about some magic items.
All right. And what's your name?
Zednius Titus Fabricia Verusian.
And he will consult. It'll take about 30 minutes to consult, for Clan Fabricia membership ledger to confirm that you are in fact a member of Clan Fabricia. He does, and then he will return and say, all right, you can speak to our magical procurement specialist. I'll warn you, though, she's a bit scatterbrained these days with the war on the plains. Lots of requests.
Now, when people say the war on the plains, they specifically mean the dragon and all the son of the dragon and all the princes?
Yes.
Okay, and then when they say that there's problems in the west, what do they usually mean?
It could, depending on where you are geographically, they could either be referring to the Deadwood, or more typically, they'd be referring to Galadrim.
Okay, so are we at war with the Galadrim?
Technically not, because there's no Galadrim kingdom. It's engaged in a constant civil war, but it has been standard Mythosian practice for the last 100 years to go raid and kidnap people from Galadrim and gain vast amounts of wealth by raiding that country.
Okay.
So, yeah. You can be led through a series of corridors into the magical procurement office. It is covered in paper, layers and layers of requests and documentation for existing magical items. And a very stressed woman sits behind the desk. She looks to be, you would instantly guess wizard just because there's a spell book hanging from her waist. So technically, anyone could tie a random arcane book to their waist. And she is currently writing up a report, which she, as you enter, she sighs and lifts it up and blows against the ink to sort of dry it a little bit, and then places it on a stack next to her desk and looks up. She has a very anxious energy about her, and as you enter, she says, "Hello, please take a seat."
I'll sit.
All right, what is it that you want? Actually, first, Frumentar, no, not Fabricia or Clan Belonia?
Fabricia.
Fabricia, all right. She flips through a little stack of little slips that she was granted. She says, all right, okay. Zednius Titus Fabricia Verusian. Okay, what would you like? What are you looking for?
What, You wouldn't have any winged boots, would you?
Winged boots. We have 3 pairs, but they're currently all earmarked by the Department of War.
Oh.
There's a broom of flying in the possession of a arcanist. You could ask to trade with him.
What do you have that's available for requisitioning?
She flips open a page of a ledger, begins to move her finger down it. 7 potions of healing, scrolls of shield, scroll of flaming sphere.
Can you explain to me how a scroll of shield works? Because shield is a reaction spell.
Yes.
I know that you explained it in the other campaign, but I just don't understand.
When you have it equipped, you can use it as a reaction.
Oh, you can use it
when you have it in one of your hands. When it's like basically, if it's equipped as an item in one of your hands, then you can use it as a reaction.
I see now. Okay.
Yeah. So scroll fireball, bag of tricks.
The items.
Many items. She begins to. Her fingers begin to rapidly move through the ledger. Like clearly, you see that 80% of these items have been checkmarked as reserved by somebody. And she just begins to rapidly go through item after item after item, and most of them are scrolls and potions because those are the things that they can easily produce. Magical items are impossible to make functionally, and she'll continue to slip through. An immovable rod. Wand of magic missiles. Amulet of proof against detection. Bag of tricks. I think I already said that. It's about all we got. Not a lot left.
Yes, and the war's been taking most of it.
Mostly just Clamballonia, yeah. We didn't have anything super rare to begin with. Most of that goes to the main office in Mythos. Oh, jeez. But, yeah, what little we had here was given over to the Department of War. Civilities requested a little bit as well. So,
give me the rod.
All right. Let's take a look. So, you will have to pay 150 gold, and at any time, the Department of Magic reserves the right to request its return to confirm that it is still physically intact.
Okay, I'll sign.
All right. And she will collect the coinage. She will write a little slip, which she will hand over to you. All right, make your way over to the clerk, then ask him for the magical vault. He will then take you there.
What was the arcanist that had the broom called?
Let's take a look. Arcanist Marcus Titus Fabricia. He's embedded with the 7th Legion.
Where are they right now?
I believe they're at the city of Kujva.
All right. Is the Department of Magic, are they, so these items is this the same pool of items? Like, if I went to another city, it's the same.
No, it'd be
items?
different.
Ah, okay.
The way that this is also very cheap for magical item because you don't actually own this. Like, the Department of Magic owns it, yeah. Whereas sometimes they'll facilitate trades between private owners, and in that case, it would cost an insane amount more, but you would actually own the item. But yeah, different field offices of the Department of Magic will have different stuff. Mythos will have the most by far, because that's the main magical vault of the Department of Magic.
Oh, then should... I have a lot of time. Maybe I back out of this and I go to Mythos.
Do you want the immovable rod?
Well, I don't have enough money now. If I wanted something different,
that is true.
I'm assuming that I don't know how you would do it, but I would assume that the same level of items would be the same.
It'll just all have to do with the demand of that particular item.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So like a scroll of fireball, super high demand, even though it's just the same level as like a haste spell. But fireball is much more useful in a war context.
Depends on how much of a Giga Chad you have.
I guess.
Haste on.
Maybe. Even then, though, like, normal people instantly die to fireballs, so you can get like 30 people around if you're hitting a densely packed formation with fireballs.
Yeah.
You can save up your money and go to Mythos if you want.
Okay.
Okay, then add 150 gold back to your sheet. And
I
you
can't really think of any rod. I know that there's uses for the rod, but I can't think.
They're all wacky and goofy and.
Yeah, it's like, oh, knock a guy out and then lay the rod on top of him.
So there's that one. There's also the one where I remember what it was. It's like use it to climb a structure that has no like things to grab onto, because like you put the rod above your head, then you free. Oh, you need 2 rods to do that, but then you can like climb any surface.
Well, you could. Yeah.
There's a bunch of wacky shit. Yeah, you can make your way to the city of Mythos.
Like you get eaten by a creature.
Oh yeah, like you pry its jaw open. Yeah.
Or no, it'd be like if you leave the rod there, the creature then cannot move, ever.
Oh.
Because it would tear its insides out.
If it moved in either direction, yeah. Yeah, if it swallowed you, that would be a good thing to do. Yeah, you can get a carriage to the Department of Magic in Mythos. Its head facility. This one has a much more bureaucracy, which, for the purposes of not making this go too long, we'll skip past most of them. You will meet a clerk who will point you in the direction of the Acquisitions Department. The Acquisitions Department will point you in the direction of identity verification, which will be done. Then you will be brought back to the Acquisitions Department, in which you will be presented with a list of items that are available to someone of your rank within Clan Fabricia at this moment. And at this point,
what rank am I in Clan Fabricia?
Relatively low.
What do you
Your
do
senatorial
to
rank
rise
would be
the rank
considered.
within that?
Oh, just get promoted within like the other political ladder of like the empire. So like if you're a proconsul, then you have access to almost everything Clan Fabricia has. If you're a consul, you have access to literally everything they have.
So being a judge doesn't affect this one way.
It does. It puts you at the rank just above praetor, I think. Like judge is its own rank within the political structure.
It's just not super high. It's kind of off to the side.
It's in about the middle. And it's to the side.
People above them in that sense, but they also don't. Yeah. Like because we report directly to a
They're
guy
in a really weird
to
spot.
the emperor, right? We're not part of a department.
Yeah, exactly.
Necessarily.
So it puts you in a weird middle ground where you get access to some stuff but not all of it.
Okay.
All right. Let me take a look. So, the items that they have available are a mithril shield, a bag of holding, boots of striding and springing, a medallion of thoughts, a moon-touched sword, oil of slipperiness, potion of animal friendship, potion of fire giant strength, potion of growth, potion of storm giant strength, potion of superior healing, ring of warmth, spell scroll forbiddance, spell scroll, I don't remember this guy's name, something secret chest. I think someone's already cast this, so there'd be a special name for it. Georg secret chest, wall of fire.
Somebody had to cast it if it was a scroll, right?
Yeah, no, I was just trying to find what player in Valorous had cast it first, which is a spellcaster named Georg. Staff of charming, walloping, ammunition. Those are the 17 things they have available.
Walloping ammunition is bolts or arrows or what is that?
Walloping. I think that's the last thing I said, right?
Yeah, but what kind of ammunition?
It's a blowgun needles.
Oh. Okay. I was thinking of a gift for Severus, but I don't know that he's gonna care about that.
I mean, he knows how to use a blowgun, technically.
We'll save that for another time. So, what was the second item you said? That was the one that I missed.
Second bag of holding.
Oh, I can get a bag of holding?
Yeah. Well, they have it.
How much does that cost? How much
500 gold pieces to rent.
Who?
500 gold pieces?
Okay, well, I don't have that. But I can come back later sometime.
You could also go get a loan from the Department of Coin. Get it on layaway.
Rent an item on layaway?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You rent a bag of holding on leverage, and then go adventure so you can pay with the leverage. Oh, God.
I'll end up working on my own farm as a day slave.
Yeah, dude, you got a hodl.
I can't think of a use for. I can't.
If none of these are thrilling, that's perfectly fine.
The bag of holding is, but it's moolah.
Gotta teleport back in time so you can buy all these before the Department of War goes in and just fucking empties them out.
Wait, what?
You gotta teleport back in time so
folding, then that's not bad. Or do you mean the prices went up because of that?
No, the accessibility. There'd be like legendary level artifacts available if it weren't for.
Well, not for a judge, right?
Probably at least one.
Just finish the war. Let's just win the
war.
So
true. Just win the war, Lamau. It's so true.
Put me in, coach.
Yeah, you want to be put on the front lines?
No, I'll die.
Yeah,
I've already died once.
True.
To a soy wizard.
To a soy wizard. So true. Well then, unless there's anything else pressing you want to get done before April 17th, I think we will skip forward to that point. You are no longer sick of resurrection. You keep that trait, but...
What is Het Hagal up to?
He's just staying near you and staying quiet.
Okay. Well, I know that... I don't even know how long it was after I became, like, feeble-minded that I died. How much... Because he was really protective when I was feeble-minded.
Yeah.
And then I died not long after that. And now he's just like, oh, things are normal? Because we spent 3 weeks...
No, things are not normal. He's sticking near you and saying nothing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's basically never leaving your side.
He can't talk right very well. So I can't ask him to tell me stories or anything.
No, certainly not. Not like he used to be able to.
Right.
In Alphongar too.
And he's already heard all my stories. And he's been there for most of them.
Yeah. You could tell him about, what's that guy's name? Old Gideon again?
Yeah. He's heard that one a few times.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll see if I can check up on on the party.
I have no idea where it'll be at this moment.
I know that it hasn't played out, but that's something Zednius would be doing.
All right. Yeah, maybe. Depending on where they're at, we may have a brief appearance, but Zednius in one of the main sessions, because he's physically healthy now.
Oh god, I'm gonna Dr. Doolittle, or what is it? Eddie Murphy, where I play multiple characters.
Oh yeah.
In the same movie.
Yeah. Well then, that was Memento Mori, the name of the session. Zednius is back from the dead. Harrowing experience, most certainly. But he's alive. Probably wouldn't want to do that a couple more times, you know. Probably want to keep that limited. That's why revivifying people up and down can be a little bit awkward. If you get them before they go through the Veil of Death.
Oh, did you say Pearl of Power? I missed that.
I did not say Pearl of Power. Peaches is schizoing as she does. Whenever I speak, all she hears is Pearl of Power.
I thought you said it and I just like missed it, and then she's going crazy.
No, I didn't say that. But yeah, I think Zednius would probably realize why there's a reason why people don't get resurrected infinitely, like even heads of state, because even if you have access to infinite resurrection scrolls, you probably start getting some pretty like psychotic people after a couple of those experiences, because just one of them leaves Zednius a bit.
Yeah, until he's said two, he said.
Yes, he has. All right, makes you wonder what he was like before those, right? Maybe he was like the nicest.
But it's a little comforting to know that I won't get taken by the hounds. At least Technicol's got my back.
Yeah, you and him in a dark city with a monolith
by ourselves
forever. Yeah.
No, we're gonna get him more followers. Tullius told us to.
Did he say that? Is that what he said?
No.
That's an interesting interpretation, Yogi.
He said he just asked if it was possible.
Yeah, that's all he asked. He's just asking questions, okay?
And then it was about 20 minutes after he left that I was like, shit, I should have asked him that.
Yeah, that would have been good.
And then I didn't.
All right. Well, I will see you on Friday for the main session. Zednius lives. A bit scared and traumatized, but he lives, and that's all that matters. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.